Motoring 2012 on TSN is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.
There's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Look at this World War II bomber. Back in the 40s, it was state-of-the-art, and it did its job. And while it wasn't broken, some smart people came along and said, hey, we can make a better airplane, and thank God they did. And it's the same in the automotive world. I mean, who would have looked back at Motoring 90, for instance, and said these were brand new cars? But you know, there is one vehicle, despite being on the road for almost 50 years, that has really maintained the same design, yet it's still considered the benchmark in the world of sports cars. And of course, I'm talking about the Porsche 911.
The 911 is the heart of our brand. It's the iconic sports car. It's what Porsche is all about. Whenever there's a new 911, it's a big, big moment. The neat thing about this 911 is that this is perhaps the biggest generational change that we've ever had in the history of the 911, which spans now almost 50 years.
I think we had this time a chance which you don't have perhaps all 20 years. This time we could build a complete new chassis, a complete new, entire new car. Though there is no common part from the old model to the new one. We have extended the wheelbase by 100 millimeter, so nearly 4 inches, but we have shortened then the rear and the front overhang, though we increased the total length just by 2 inches. This longer wheelbase gives you much more high-speed stability and gives you also very good base for, let's say, high performance, especially if you run the car in very sporty mode or on the race circuit.
I think it is very interesting that on the base, hate to call it a base model, but the 911 Carrera, the non-S model, that we have gone from a 3.6 liter displacement to a 3.4 liter displacement. But nevertheless, we have 5 more horsepower, and it's quicker and faster than the competition. Not always the most powerful, because that's not what Porsche is about. Porsche is about what we call Porsche intelligent performance. So we can do more with less horsepower because we have lighter weight and we have smarter technology. So for instance, the world's first 7-speed manual transmission is in the new 911.
I mean, with such a long and strong history, I admit it is one of the biggest challenges you can face as a car designer.
If you could only show one shot of this car, which angle would it be?
It would be a 3/4 from the rear, because I'm extremely proud of the rear end of the car. Since, I mean, we had a lot of discussion how far can we go with the new generation, and we came to the conviction that on the front we should be, let's say, a little bit more careful, stick to this shape of the front lamps, but set on the rear end we should dare a little bit more. And therefore I'm very proud of the rear end.
Well, there's no doubt it's a fun job, but I don't know, I guess yours is better than mine because you got to drive the new 911 before I did. I'm about to drive it actually for the very first time. I've seen the car several times in the design studios at Weissach, but this is my first chance to actually get behind the wheel, and what a better day down here in California. It's the perfect day to drive it.
One of the reasons that Porsche selected California for this worldwide launch of the 911 is simply because California, outside of Germany, is the biggest market for this car. But that could be changing thanks to a country called China.
China is 1.3 billion people, yeah. And I was in the past 10 years very often in China, and if you look at the development over there, it's unbelievable. This year it will be our 3rd biggest market. It will happen that China will overtake Germany and most likely also will overtake North America.
In the case of Porsche, you have much more discussion because people are much more connected to the brand and to the product. So I've never experienced something like this in another brand. So I expect a lot of discussion, and I'm sure some people won't like it. I hope that the majority will like it.
We're diversifying to some degree with our model line, but we've got to keep the sports cars strong. We are first and foremost a sports car company.
Defensive driving, how about some defensive walking? Strolling onto Kenzie's corner a bit later.
The first was rushed to market, the second was considerably better. On this edition of Test Drive, the third generation of the Mercedes-Benz M-Class.
Not so long ago, if you mentioned diesel, many would start to laugh hysterically. That was then, this is today. When it comes to the new M-Class, one of the bigger improvements is found under the hood. An extensively revised version of Mercedes-Benz delightful 3-litre turbo diesel. The rework does some great things. The horsepower rises by 30 to 240. The real sweetness, however, is found in the diesel's twisting power. With 455 pound-feet of torque on tap, at 1600 RPM, it pulls the skin off a rice pudding without breaking a sweat. Needless to say, the fact the torque enters at such low revs means that there's no lag time whatsoever. Now that explains the 0 to 100k time of 7.3 seconds.
On a bitterly cold day like today, diesels used to be very difficult to start. Now that is a thing of the past. The other advantage they really do enjoy, much better fuel economy. Now if you take this ML and equip it with a 3.5 litre V6 gas engine, it will consume 1.8 litres per 100 kilometres more in the city and 1.6 on the highway. Over time, that represents a considerable saving. Now, for all of the naysayers out there that suggest that that advantage is eroded by the additional cost of diesel, I've got one word for you: rubbish.
The power is put to pavement through a 7-speed automatic transmission and Mercedes' slick 4MATIC all-wheel drive system. It's fast to react to changing conditions, and it accomplishes this regardless of whether it's being tested on-road or off. The fact it's seamless in the manner in which it alters the torque distribution underscores its proficiency.
The cabin of this new M-Class takes a big step forward. The materials are much richer and they're offset with some very nice wood accents. It also arrived loaded. This thing's got a power panoramic sunroof, a very good Harman Kardon sound system, and a full-on navigation system. In fact, it all comes together so nicely, there's really only one thing to complain about. This screen, it should be touch sensitive. It's not.
Dynamically, the latest M-Class is significantly better. The suspension controls unwanted body motion without feeling firm. The M also now employs an electromechanical steering system which brings the right weighting at any speed. This newfound feedback makes the Big M feel surprisingly accomplished and remarkably refined. The other noteworthy piece of the dynamic equation is the progressive nature of the brake pedal. Many diesel-powered vehicles tend to have an awkwardly mushy pedal that's tough to modulate. Not here.
This new M-Class is a surprisingly large vehicle. This back seat, for instance, it will accommodate 3 adults realistically. Now when you get around to the back end, you access all of the cargo area through a handy power liftgate. When it's open, 24.5 cubic feet of cargo space with the seats up. If you fold them flat, well, you open up 71 cubic feet.
A quick jaunt off-road also proved the ML350 works just as well. The diesel's torque also allows it to rumble down a gnarly trail without labouring. It also has the right ground clearance and suspension travel.
This new M-Class is a considerably better vehicle than the one it replaces, and it was no slouch. This time around, much nicer cabin, much better interior, and it's got that sweet diesel engine. So sweet, in fact, it makes me wonder why anybody would buy a gasoline-powered version of this new ML.
They're the fastest metal cars you've ever seen. Mattel's new Hot Wheels. Collect them by themselves or get them in wild new action sets, like the drag race action set, the stunt action set, the Hot Curves race action set. Get Mattel's new Hot Wheels. the fastest metal cars you've ever seen.
Hot Wheels has been around for over 44 years now. You know, it's a classic brand that we know that boys have grown up playing with year over year, and that's, you know, boys of all ages, not just young kids. Every year, you know, we try to push the limits and come out with new products that boys are going to love, and then we've got older adult products like this that we know collectors are going to love. The concept car we have here is a tribute to the original 1968 custom Camaro that had this amazing Spectra Flame finish on the exterior. The design of the car was actually a collaboration between the Hot Wheels and General Motors design teams. But what's amazing about this concept car is that we're finally fulfilling the dreams of all those boys who used to play with those Hot Wheels toys as kids, and now it's their chance to see what it's like to have a real Hot Wheels car.
When you buy the new Hot Wheels TNT Bird, Beach Bomb, and Police Cruiser, and if your set looks like this, give them room to go. Add a Super Track pack, a Jump Ramp pack, 2 curb packs, a Daredevil loop pack. Race them through the start and finish gate with the competition pack. Add a supercharger, and you've got it all. Go with the winner.
I've sort of got an addiction. Borderline, yeah, it's an addiction. I've got about 5,000 to 7,000, somewhere in there. I think the ZL1's a cool car to begin with, but what's really, really cool is the Camaro was one of the first Hot Wheels ever released, and it was also released prior to, I think, 6 or 8 months prior to when the Camaro actually hit production. And this car, I think, is significant because it's got one of the cool Spectra Flame paint jobs that they used to have on the first Hot Wheels when they came out, which is basically chrome with a color over top of it. It's a pretty cool color. The rumor was, and this is from General Motors, the rumor was that they would be offering this as a model, probably not with the trick paint that you see now, because basically that's a chrome-plated car behind me. But they said there will be a variant of this car with Hot Wheels badging on the car. I never stopped collecting Hot Wheels. And in the grand scheme of things, I guess it's cheaper than drugs and alcohol.
The dual-lane Rod Runner drag set, just like the real ones. You set the speed. The toy speedometer tells you how fast. The winner drops the flag and the chutes pop automatically. Drag with Mattel's dual-lane Rod Runner drag set. Go with the winner.
I'm Ted Laternus, and I'm here to tell you to get your shift together, and I'll tell you why on MotoringTV.com.
I have 2 daughters, and it's quite interesting. They're young people that grew up in that generation, and you know, driving is not necessarily number 1, 2, or 3 on their priority list. You know, their connectivity allows them to achieve what they want to achieve in terms of the social side of their lives. And for us, it was a concern. But the data suggests that if you take North America, particularly here in the United States, you're talking about 45 million people out of that population of young people that still value cars and want a unique driving experience, a unique customer experience. And we need to connect with them in a much different way, and that's what the new General Motors is about.
You know, with the new 911, we're talking 400 horsepower, about 400 pound-feet of torque, yet Porsche is really pushing the fuel economy story. They've got all sorts of things like auto stop start, but you know, this is going to set you back over $100,000. The question is, does the customer really care about fuel economy?
I think it's not the first objective for sure. But if you combine, let's say, such a very high-performance sports car and you have this fantastic fuel economy. For example, if I drive down to Santa Barbara in the afternoon, you can easily do 30 miles per gallon with a 400 horsepower sports car. I think if the car does it, it helps a lot. Yeah. And for sure there in the world always people say, do we really need sports car with such high performance? But if the fuel economy is that low, nobody will discuss.
All right, let's join Bill Gardner with his tip of the week.
Our motoring tip of the week concerns breaking in a brand new engine. Now the good news about this whole story is that with a modern car or truck,
The days of any special procedures for breaking in a new engine are pretty much over. They're pretty much gone. The engines are built to such a level of precision. All the subsystems that protect your engine, the cooling system, lubrication systems, etc., have been so greatly improved, and the friction in the valve train of the engine has been greatly reduced with roller followers. The days of any special or extreme procedures almost gone, almost a non-issue. Now, having said that, if you're having the engine rebuilt in your 60s muscle car and you're mating brand new parts, rings, pistons, bearings, etc., with some older seasoned parts after machining, it's a whole different set of rules. So you want to make sure that whoever's installing that engine, in most cases the rebuilder installer, is going to take care of that for you, but it is a whole different ball game. With these brand new engines though, they're pretty much good to go right from the start, and that's a good news story for anybody buying a brand new vehicle today. That's your motoring tip of the week.
Along with new product, an auto show is an opportunity for manufacturers to showcase the many accolades their cars and trucks have received. However, at this year's auto show in Toronto, there was an award that could benefit Canadian consumers most of all.
Well, Canadian Black Book's a 50-year-old company, and we have a little black book that was used by the car dealers across Canada. And all that information was great information that was never really released to the consumer. And now it's out to the consumer, and if you go to CanadianBlackBook.com, you can value your trade-in and get a future value of a vehicle, which is very important to the buying process. The Canadian Black Book 2012 Retained Value Awards is saying that this vehicle has always been a good vehicle on the road. The manufacturer stood behind the vehicle. When you take the vehicle in for service, you get good service, and they will fix things on the vehicle, which holds its resale value. So when that vehicle is going to be resold again, the person that's going to buy the used vehicle knows they're getting something that can stand up and will be a durable vehicle with many kilometers on it.
What we do is we're looking at the used vehicle price, the 4-year-old vehicle as of January 1st, and what the original MSRP was, the selling price of the vehicle originally, taking those two numbers and figuring out how well it's held its value. So Odyssey in that segment held the highest amount of its original selling price.
We just received Black Book's Residual Value Award for 3 of our vehicles for 2011. It's a kind of assurance for our customers that when they buy one of our vehicles, that it will have the best residual value at the end of their usage. I'm proud to say we've won several of these awards over the years, which speaks to the quality, durability and quality of our product.
We've launched 16 all-new or significantly refreshed products in the last 19 months. And these refreshes and new products now are in the market, and really what's happening with new interiors, new powertrains, their values are holding up better than ever before. And the two winners, Challenger and Wrangler, are really icons. You can think, what competes directly against a Wrangler in its class, and that's why its end value holds up so well. So when you talk about cost of ownership with Wrangler or Challenger, and trade-in values, you know you're going to get a good deal going forward, because that's important to Canadian consumers.
We have 18 awards, 17 different categories, and we had 1 tie. So there's a lot of cars in there to choose from, and if you go to CanadianBlackBook.com and go to the awards part of the consumer website, you can see the vehicles online, and you'll know which ones held their value and have the resale value award.
Closed captioning of Motoring 2012 is brought to you by
Greener, fuel efficient, global. This is Chevrolet Now, driving our world forward.
Now the show is called Motoring, but at one point or another, all of us are also pedestrians. And I want you to think back to your earliest days in public school. What did they teach you when you're walking on the streets or the roads? Walk facing traffic so that you can see people that are coming towards you. Why is that important? Because we as drivers probably can't see you, particularly at night. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen people walking in the direction of traffic, sometimes on a country road out where I live. They got black boots, black pants, black jacket, sometimes a hoodie up over their head. They can't see a blessed thing, and because they're all in black, we can't see them either. Okay, the geekiest thing in the world, except maybe for my flip-up sunglasses, is to wear one of those reflective vests. You're not gonna do that. Maybe it's even worse to wear a miner's light on your hat. But carry a flashlight. Get a jacket that's got a couple of fluorescent stripes on it. Do something, because otherwise we can't see you. We lose an awful lot of people on our streets and highways because they're pedestrians and we can't see them. The most dangerous place to be a pedestrian, by the way, in Canada, City of Vancouver. Why? Because it's usually raining, people are all huddled up, they got their umbrellas on over their heads, and they can't see where they're going. And we end up hitting them. And believe me, you don't want to have to carry that around for the rest of your life if you kill somebody on the highway. So pedestrians, give it a bit of thought, will you? Make yourself visible. Walk straight, live long, and prosper. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Now, I know Porsche design chief Michael Maurer may get upset with me, but you know, when it comes to the design of the 911, unless you are a real Porsche enthusiast, you're going to have to look real carefully for some of the subtle cues. I do like the design, however. In fact, I actually see a little Panamera in it, and that is not a bad thing. But you know, since 1963, when this vehicle first hit the road, it's never been about a design revolution. It's always been about what's under the skin, and I'm here to tell you right now, the company has hit a home run once again. And you know, now that Porsche is producing, what, 50% trucks, it's nice to see they have not taken their eye off what is an iconic vehicle. Yes, I'm a Porsche fan, always have been, and I still am. Oh, one bit of advice. If you got enough money to buy this, bring it out to a racetrack and discover where you spent all that money, and maybe take along a friend. That's it for now. We'll see you next time up as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
I really don't think that the question should be so much about where the car is built, rather how much dedication to quality went into that plant. And as you've seen here in Chattanooga, we left no stone unturned.
Motoring 2012 on TSN has been brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.